Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I have never put my problems online nor felt the need to discuss them until now. For context, I, 37 female, am married and have 2 beautiful children. My husband and I have had our fair share of problems over the years, especially when it comes to raising a family in this economy. COVID and the current inflation have worsened our issues. But it wasn't always this difficult. We were doing quite well initially, and my husband has had a stable job throughout the years. Anyways, when we had our kids and the bills started piling up, it got a little too much. A few years ago, my youngest had to get a lot of orthodontic surgery, which wasn't covered by our insurance, and we went out of pocket with these. Things got bad enough that we feared we won't be able to make payments on the house anymore. I had to go back to work full-time, which felt like intensive juggling along with managing the house and the kids. I took on weekends as well because my husband told me that we weren't going to make it out of this without me raking in a lot more than I was. I ended up completely exhausted every week, and it started taking a toll on me mentally as well. The only thing I was completely broken about was that I was seeing less of my children day by day, and the fact that they couldn't afford to do many things now that their classmates would be able to do. School trips, vacations, etc. It was a tough couple of years, but we managed to get through. Barely though. Coming to the present, I was getting all our documents in order so that my eldest could apply for a NEED scholarship, and it required various bank statements and whatnot. I was going over and over all the records I could find, and things didn't add up. It took me a few days, but I figured out that there are records from an account I don't even know about, nor money I've seen before. I, at first, dismissed it as a company account, relating it to my husband's work. But the paperwork for the account was on his name, which bothered me because why would it be like that? I already knew of our family account in his name, and it didn't have nearly the amount of credit this one did at any given time. It was also putting us above the minimum needed to apply for the scholarship, which was insane because we've never had that amount of money, and meeting the requirements for this was necessary. I went over it again and eventually brought it up in front of him, hoping for some sort of reasonable explanation. He was dismissive of it at first, quoting it as just some budgeting and company expenses, but it didn't make sense. After much persistence from my end, he fessed up that this is a fund he's been building for his parents. I was absolutely shocked at first, not even at the fact that he's been doing this for his parents, but more so because he's been doing that behind my back and lying to me about our money problems. I was also surprised because for the longest time I've known his family, his parents have done quite well for themselves and have had a retirement plan already working for them. I immediately threw a fit as to why he was doing this in the first place when his parents should be looking after themselves and already are doing a fine enough job at it on their own. My husband was getting extremely difficult and disingenuous in his explanations, so I immediately called up his parents to get some understanding. Maybe they aren't doing as well as I thought. I was completely calm at first and inquired about any money they had been getting from their son. They told me that he's been giving them money on and off over the past few years and how he promised them a vacation in Asia that has been pending since COVID. That conversation derailed completely and I absolutely lost it. Because in what world do his parents get to go on a vacation when his own son has to apply for scholarships to make his dreams come true? My mother-in-law started crying and went on a whole tangent of how they aren't doing anything wrong and that they deserve nice things as well. Well, for starters, his kids deserve nice things too. It was absolutely ridiculous, and I told his parents to use their own goddamn money to fund these luxuries if they want to, because they're not getting a cent from us anymore. My husband got really angry at this, implying that he earns his fair share and gets to do what he wants with the money. Mind you, I have been raising our kids and keeping a job with little help from him all this time, under the illusion that he earns quite less than what he actually does. If he doesn't care enough about his family to prioritize their welfare, then he doesn't get to be a part of this family. I said I'd call it quits on this and separate if needed and manage our kids on our own as I already do. But this cannot go on like this anymore. We're taking a beat now and not talking anymore for the time being. and I'm absolutely on edge about the whole thing. Am I the a-hole? Update. Okay, it's been a whole ordeal, but we've had a lot of arguments on this so far. I've told him he needs to transfer all the money he saved up to my account or make a joint account, where all our money goes, or I'm filing for a divorce, plain and simple. He's been super crabby about the whole thing, but we have agreed to make all money decisions mutually. I've also signed us up for a few sessions of family therapy because this has all been dire for our relationship and I can't let this go until we properly process this. He's agreed to it for now. We'll see how we come out of this. As for his parents, we haven't heard from them since he broke the news that the fun isn't going to be theirs. I hope their silence continues for the rest of their lives. This is a complex situation, but I don't think you're the a-hole, OP. You're married to your husband, and as you explained, you've been putting in more effort to make sure your family stays afloat. But then you find out that your husband has been saving up money for his parents so they could go on a vacation. If I were you, I would be pissed too. It's okay for him to do nice things for his parents, but it shouldn't be at the expense of you and your children, and besides, you two are married. I believe he should have told you about this before he did it. Hopefully, therapy does what it does best for you too. Good luck, OP. Story 2. My mother and I have a difficult relationship, but recently it has gotten worse. My husband and I have been married for 4 years and live abroad. He is a teacher and we recently had a baby boy. It was so awesome of my mother to fly the 15 hours here, along with my husband's mother, and stay with us for the first 2 weeks postpartum. I was nervous and started having anxiety about her coming, but I also was thankful she was doing this and started to look forward to it and see it as an opportunity to come under a common goal and really bond and have an amazing experience together. When she got here, it was worse than I could have even imagined. The first day she started in on how she thought the baby was underweight. He wasn't. That he had diarrhea. He didn't. That he wasn't nursing correctly. He was. That my husband is forcing me to stay abroad. He isn't. That our house isn't nice. I like it. Now, this was so stressful and soon my husband couldn't be polite anymore and told her to leave me alone. She blew up and started on Facebook first, calling him a mother effer, control freak, Satan. That she now knew his true identity. Then the screaming started at the house. That our baby deserves a better life. That him and his mom are nasty. I'm crying, the baby's crying. My mother-in-law is in total shock, really. This was the first 3 days. I begged her to be calm, to try and have a nice time. My husband apologized for being rude, and she apologized for being rude. The second week was decent, though I was counting down when she was leaving. I was going to chalk this all up to stress, but the second she got home, it was like nothing was resolved. She wrote again to my husband that my husband is Satan, that he's a control freak, that his mom is an idiot. She calls me Bob when we argue, which is her ex-husband, my abusive alcoholic father's name, which causes me immense pain and guilt. When she calls me, which I try to answer and talk to the very bare minimum, she asks if my husband and I are getting along because her intuition is telling her something is off. I have the best husband in the world. We've been married 4 years and she has known him for 12 years, but has all of a sudden started this idea that she is just learning who he is. This breaks my heart. My husband doesn't deserve this. I want to do the right thing for him, be a good wife, and protect him from anyone that would disrespect him, and not associate with anyone that would say these things to him. Only, she's my mom, and I don't know what to do. Recently, she hasn't said anything and acts like nothing happened. She gave my husband a Christmas gift signed from Mama. My baby is 5 months now, and we are going to USA soon for a visit. In 3 months, she keeps alluding to us staying at her home. I can't do it. I want to stay at another family member's house, but she makes me feel incredibly guilty about it. I feel like she's just keeping it together, so I feel guilty and stay with her, and then it will all be fiasco all over again. I don't want my husband around someone that talks to him like that, or my baby to be around screaming. We are Christians, and she says it makes us hypocrites to deny her access to the baby like that. I'm not trying to keep her from the baby, but I can't be stuck in a house like that. Am I the a-hole? for not wanting to spend a lot of time with her by staying at her house. You're not the a-hole, OP. You're also your person. You need to stick to your guns and lower contact with her. As you said, your husband doesn't deserve to be called names and treated like shit by your mother for no good reason. Your mom should be happy for you, but instead, all she's causing you is stress and pain. I know it's hard to cut her out of your life, but lower contact and set boundaries with her. Your son doesn't need to grow up around her manipulative behavior. Now for some comments. You are your own person. Just because she's your mom doesn't give her the privilege of your time. I don't think you're an a-hole at all for wanting to do what's best for you and your family. Not the a-hole. Absolutely stay somewhere else. From her behavior, I'd say she's lucky that you're willing to visit at all. Personally, I would have a backup plan in place to make a hasty exit if she tries to act this way again. You, your husband, and your son deserve to be treated with common decency. And she needs to understand that she's not in charge of the way your son is raised. You're not an a-hole. She sounds like a narcissist, and I would advise you to go no contact. It sounds harsh, but I'm from the camp that you can and should choose your family. Life is too short for it to be filled with hateful, terrible people. Genetics shouldn't be a guarantee. If you had a childhood friend who treated you this way, you would cut them out of your life. I don't think a blood relative should be any different. She's hurting you, your husband, and now your child. And they should come first. Maybe with counseling she can improve. Story 3. I know this sounds super petty, and it is. An argument hasn't broken out about this, but I have expressed my annoyance, but not in a serious way. And I'm wondering if I should. My boyfriend and I both enjoy gaming, mostly on PC. We both have desktops and Steam accounts full of games, but we aren't often into the same games, except for some overlap here and there. However, our relationship is long distance, so I can't bring my desktop with me when I visit him. I do winter vacation trips to his place. Instead, I bring my laptop, which can't hold many games due to lack of space or play any graphically demanding ones, especially not the ones I've been really into lately. My boyfriend's PC has no independent graphics card. The kind of games he plays don't require one really. He likes Grand Strategy 4X RTS. The games I've been playing recently on my PC are pretty graphically demanding, so much so that his PC won't be able to handle them. So just opening my Steam account on his PC and installing my games isn't really an option. So the last few times I've been at his place, I've gotten pretty bored at times due to not having access to my desktop. Well, I got a Nintendo Switch this Christmas with a couple of games. One of them I've been playing pretty non-stop, having a blast during downtime when my boyfriend and I aren't otherwise hanging out. When I brought the game out at his place, he kind of teasingly shat on things he doesn't like about the game while watching me play. Then hours later decided he wanted to play as well. So I let him, thinking he doesn't like it that much and just wants to mess around a bit. Then he got pretty hooked on it too and started playing whenever I fell asleep first. Okay, I'm asleep, that doesn't bother me. But then, he starts playing when I have just woken up or grabs the controllers when I step away for a moment. The reason I'm annoyed is because he has a PC full of games that he uses daily right in front of him. And while I don't have access to many of my games and other applications I use except the ones that can run on my laptop or his PC, yet he wants to play my Switch and the games I got for Christmas, which is most of what I've been using for downtime entertainment since we can't entertain each other 24/7. It seems we're both engrossed with the game right now. I get the feeling of really wanting to play something that you're enjoying and finding addicting. It can make everything else seem uninteresting. So the Switch game we're both attached to is probably more appealing to him than his whole library right now. But I feel like I really do have nothing else to do but surf the web when he's playing my Switch, and he's not recognizing this. Am I the a-hole for being irritated by this? Am I selfish for it? I'm pretty sure if I had my desktop and he wanted to play my Switch, I would be much more cool with it, and I wouldn't be relegated to PCs that have nothing I want to play or do on them. Now for some comments. You need to have a conversation about this. You also need to put the damn Switch away because you are in a long-distance relationship. Why would you waste the time you actually get together not even paying attention to each other? The issue is that he's treating your console like it's his. and seemingly hasn't asked permission or respected your desire to use it. You don't need a reason to want access and control over your own things. Just ask him for your switch back. No, you're not an a-hole for him, and I think he's a bit of an a-hole, albeit a passive-aggressive one, for going after it early in the morning. He's being pretty disrespectful of your property. I don't think you're an a-hole for feeling left out. You're only the a-hole if you don't communicate. Seriously. Two-way open communication is the most important part of any relationship. If you decide to just sit there and be grumpy about it and not tell him, yeah, you're an a-hole. On a side note, why aren't you playing the Switch together? Mario Odyssey's co-op mode is actually pretty tight, and there's a pretty huge selection of multiplayer indie games.